Hello, everyone. How you doing? This is Bob Gums bringing you the Concern Forum, and I hope that everybody is enjoying their day. If you're here in the Northeast, then you know right now the weather is lousy. I mean, baby, it's wet outside. I understand we might see some snow, but that's kind of doubtful. But we are definitely going to see a lot of rain, a lot of water. Now, what's the favorite subject right now in this country? Well, we all know what that is. Oh, that's Donald. And we ain't talking about Ronald McDonald from McDonald's fame. We're talking about the stale hamburger man himself, Donald Trump. Listen, let me stop trying to put humor to this because it's not funny. But one thing I believe that it's time in this country uh, where we used to, what we used to say, uh, tell it like it is. Uh, Call a spade a spade. Call a jerk. And call a liar and a thief and a bigoted racist exactly what he is. But, ask yourself, what do you think of a guy that says he's Jesus? Listen, don't get mad at me, okay? This is what Trump says. Pay attention to the words that come out of his mouth. See, Donald believes that most especially working class Americans, he believes them to be stupid. I remember one time, some years back, he said something to the effect, "Well, if you're not rich, then you're stupid," essentially. So he doesn't think too much of the intelligence of the average American person, anyway. Uh, in my case, I'm a real dumbbell by his way of thinking because I was in the military. I went in the military, got injured in the military, and I'm a disabled veteran. And according to his lights, to his way of thinking, people like us are stupid, which is one of the things I feel real bad about because I know that there are a few military people, former military guys, and one or two gals, but mostly former military guys who are, down with this MAGA thing. And I'm sorry behind that. I truly am. Uh, you know, those of us that have served this country at the risk of our lives and our sanity, we deserve a lot more uh, than some, how should I say, false champion. Because that's all Trump is. Trump is out for himself. And I'm biased. Why? Because I'm born and raised here in New York. We all know the family. That's one of the great things about the Daily News. Since we've all gotten into our cell phones nowadays, uh, maybe it doesn't carry the type of weight that it used to, but the Daily News was really good at keeping you informed about what's going on um, nationally, but especially here locally. in the city. What's the new police commissioner up to? Um, what's the new what's the new assistant mayor for education? What's this guy up to? Who's who? Who gets on page 6? And the Daily News, they're pretty good about that local stuff. And that's why I say we all know Trump, right? I can say I have partied at the same place that he partied twice over on regimes, okay? And what was that, Fillmore East, regimes? Look, Donald Trump is the kind of guy, he'll tell you, hey, look, here's $100. Get me a girl. Okay, that's the kind of guy Trump is. He's a spoiled rich kid, and I really, it really bends me out of shape to hear, oh well, he is such a great businessman and blah 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 blah. No, he's not. Never was. He took what, 450 million from his dad, and crapped it away. But see, the thing about Fred was a nasty bigot, but Fred had the good sense to basically play stuff a lot on the down low. And that's something that Donald never learned. Because if you're going to live your life that kind of way, the way that the Trumps lived, you have to be damn careful. They hurt and they injured a lot of people. Unnecessarily most of the time, but that's the way they are. Not paying their employees. The federal, court basically telling them, yeah, listen, if a black doctor wants to rent a place from you on the open market, you don't have any right to not rent apartments to high-income blacks. And see, this is what really burns me up about this SOB. Talk about government, and he's not a conservative, by the way. He's not a real conservative. That's something else that tickles the hell out of me. Donald Trump will dig into the government trough in a heartbeat, right? Quicker than you can say Manhattan. That family, right? They've been into real estate and one or two other things, but their real breakout time period came when World War II. And no, nobody in the family served, which I've always found that amusing. The big patriot family, right? Been here since the Spanish-American War, and nobody in the immediate family ever served a day in uniform, which I find very interesting. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why his grandfather was over here. Yeah, the grandfather left Germany, right, because he knew that, see, at that time, and this we're talking about the old Kaiser German army. This is before World War, as a matter of fact, this is before World War I, right? Before Hitler, before World War II, before World War I. And back in those days in Germany, you had an obligation to serve. When you, I think it was 16 or so, right around your 16th birthday, you had to get ready to report for military training. And Grandpa Trump didn't want to, he just didn't want to do it. So he ran away from Germany. Comes to the United States, which in itself was a crime, because he was fleeing his country illegally, right? You can't dodge the draft and then tell people, well, yeah, I was a good citizen. It doesn't work that way. It didn't work that way back then. But he comes over here. I think where did they go? Where did he go? Alaska. You had a lot of first Canada, the area of Alaska on the Canadian side, right? And what happens? He got involved in something, and the Canadian, uh, from what I understand, law enforcement said, no, 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 you can't do that. So he goes to the American side, and I understand that he opened up a whorehouse / hotel, made some money, decided he wanted to go back to Germany, but what happened? He gets back to Germany. He said, "Where the hell you been? Don't you know that we were looking for you to do your military service?" And I guess Grandpa Trump just kind of shrugged and said, "Well, I'm back." And the German government said, "Well, hell, we don't want you back. You felt that you were too good or whatever reason. You didn't want to serve Germany. So what the hell do we need you for now? Get the hell back to America." And that's what happened. Now, I find it disconcerting that, Donald raves and yells about, the immigrants. I'm trying to understand, or maybe he doesn't understand. He's an immigrant. He is a child of an immigrant family, right? What's it been over here? What, 2 generations? So who in the hell is he to talk, about immigrants? And well, they're dirty. Him and his, boy Tucker talking. Yeah, well, they're dirty. They make the country dirty. Listen, I just told you, Grandpa came over here under very shady circumstances. And then he's going to turn around and his grandson's going to talk about people being dirty coming in the country? That seems rather strange. I mean, why are you're going to knock the thing that that enabled you to be born here? And the same thing with his pop. His pop was no prize, but his pop knew how to get into that real estate business, and they made some money. They had a good hustle. And World War II definitely helped a whole hell of a lot for those two. Why? Because FDR, the Democrat that Republicans love to hate, or some Republicans anyway, that they love to hate him, and he was the one that practically turned him into a billionaire. Because you have the war, you have all these GIs been fighting in the Pacific, in Europe, what have you. However, they needed places to stay. Everybody was in a tent. Yeah, after the war is over, we're going to be about raising families and, having homes and blah, 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 blah. And that's exactly what happened. Trump decided to get into that real estate thing, and he got some kind of license or whatever that realtors get from the government. And basically, they built a couple of places out there in Jersey, developments. They had their hands in Jersey, and also in Jersey, and in Long Island. Of course, though, you do realize that you could be a Silver Star black veteran, and you ain't getting no house, because they were very discriminatory. If you were an Hispanic, but you look too dark, you ain't getting in. You ain't getting into this development. right? As a matter of fact, that's basically how how they help to make money, right? By renting property to white people, okay? And you had millions of black folks who served in the military, but they couldn't, very seldom could they qualify for decent housing because I'm sure you've heard the term redlining. See, now maybe you might be able to get the nicest property in a district that's already been designated as a Negro area, but it was like hell trying to uh, get property, buy property, or rent property that was not within that Negro district. See, and they was, I mean, boy, the Trumps, they were a real prize. Uh, read the books and stuff that what is she? Donald Trump's niece, I believe. Uh, read about that. I understand that Trump has always been funny about his brother. I believe he was, oh yeah, the older brother, because he died because of alcoholism. No disrespect to his niece. Well, I can understand because that was her dad, right? I can understand becoming an alcoholic in a family like that. You know. Oh, and that's another thing. They learned very early to hell with the country. Your job is to just look out for you and screw everybody else. Now, I think what happened also, um, the brother, the one that died of alcoholism, if I'm not mistaken, he decided that he was going to be, what did he do? He joined the Air Force Reserve or something for a short time. And Fred, the father, right, would hardly speak to the boy because he was so angry. Because that's, the Trump thing is only suckers serve in the military. See? So you can imagine the pain that young man went through, which is why I say I can understand why he became an alcoholic. And then, of course, you know that if you're familiar with the 60s and early 70s, you had folk singers. Uh, they were really a big thing at that time. And you had a guy, what's his name? Arlo Guthrie, right? He's the one that wrote and performed that song. This is like a half hour song. It was great though. Alice's Restaurant. And they even made, I think they made I remember now, they made a movie based on it. It is so cool, right? Talking about this guy going to the draft board. This is doing nom, right? Blah, blah. It was great, right? And his father was, what's his name? Woody Guthrie, if I'm not mistaken. And he sang for Eleanor Roosevelt, right? Even campaigned through his music for FDR. And the Trumps had gotten so, they were getting rich and disgusting that the Guthries, they wrote a song about Fred Trump. Basically, what was he? Uh, oh, God. Being a terrible human being, right? Well, you have to remember, we're just coming out of the Depression and getting ready to go into World War II. And a lot of people has some very, very interesting ideas about how a society should treat itself, how we treat uh, those who are economically troubled, as opposed to what we have now. Right now, the closest thing you have to a working party or working people's party on a national level is the Democratic Party. And I'll be quite honest about it. Some of our Democratic Party elected people, there's a lot more work that they need to do. But basically, uh, the, the Democratic Party of today is more on the side of the worker, much more so than the Republican Party. And tell you something else. Believe it or not, it wasn't always it wasn't always like that to a large extent. Uh, it was more a question of distribution, but the basic idea that yeah, well, we got to help our citizens that are in need. Uh, that was something that both Republican and most Republicans and mostly all Democrats believed. It was a question of how you go about doing that. So you listen to what these people have to say, right? Talking about the here and now, because you do know the Republicans want to end Social Security. Oh, yes, they do. They want to end it. So think about that, because you never know, as I found out the hard way, you never know what's going to happen in life. You could be in an accident, right? You could get sick, or you could have a member of the family have a catastrophic illness, as which happened to my family. And if there's not some kind of basic help, right, that there's, well, boom, I know I'm going to have this coming in, right? If you don't have that, you're going to be out in the street. And that's one of the reasons why Social Security uh, came about in the first place. And you know what's very interesting about Social Security? And folks, let me interrupt myself for a quick minute here. The way that history has been taught in this country is a disgrace, or has been a disgrace. Okay? Because anybody who knows anything will tell you that in the first place, Social Security, some type of um, food stamp system, right? Unemployment insurance when you don't have a job, that was not coming out of some kind of liberal, progressive smoke dream, okay? That came out of hardcore conservative Germany, all right? What was their name? Okay, I know the Kaiser. Bismarck. Yeah, that was the name of the prime minister, right? And he was like uh, he didn't call him king, but he was a king, Wilhelm, right? The one that was the head of Germany in World War One, right? Uh, what's his face? Uh, Bismarck was the one that was responsible for turning Germany into a modern superpower, right? Uh, that's why by the 1870s, England was looking at Germany. Hey, we gotta watch these guys, man. They're getting tough, right? That's because of Bismarck. He said something to the effect that history is written in blood and iron, right? See that Teutonic, you gotta be tough, hoo right? Well, he came up with this stuff, you know, that some of these so-called conservatives now, what they call namby-pamby, bleeding heart, liberal, weak-kneed American Democrats. No, 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 no. We didn't do that one. Okay, we didn't come up with that. America got these ideas from Germany, from blood and iron Germany. And when you stop to think about it, it's not because Bismarck and the Kaiser, that's what they call him, the king. They don't call him a king. Well, it means the same thing though, Kaiser. And Bismarck was the prime minister. Prime minister was the one that basically he ran the country, came up with the ideas, and the Kaiser, he was the one somewhat similar to the way they do it in England, right? You could say that the prime minister was the one actually doing the work, right? Coming up with the ideas, and the Kaiser was the one that would take the bows. Yeah, this is good. My man did this. Look at it. Yeah, look, we're tough now. That is basically how things, ran at that time. And it was Bismarck that said, listen, we're going to have, we need old age insurance, old age pensions. We're going to need to make sure that people who are hungry can get food, can be fed, right? Hospitalization. People need to see a doctor. We have to make sure they can do that. All the kind of stuff, right, that us left-wing folks have been fighting for decades, right? This was not the dream of, like I said, this was not the dream of liberal progressives, okay? This was something that was actually done, put in practice in Central Europe, right? In hard, rough, tough, super conservative Germany, right? Why do you think that is? Well, it's like Bismarck said. Listen, I want my people to be about me meaning Germany. I want the German worker to know that the government is on his side. See? And if we take care of him when he needs us, right, things will work out. And quite frankly, they did work out for a long time until Wilhelm basically blew all the industry, the infrastructure, all that good stuff was wasted because Kaiser Wilhelm wanted to look like a hero and basically got involved in World War I. See? But see, that's why I say they don't teach that. They don't teach the fact that Teddy Roosevelt was saying that we needed a national health care system in this country and an unemployment system and old age pension, right? It wasn't, it wasn't about being a liberal or left wing. To tell you the truth, that's why I don't even like to use those terms anymore. Because most of the things that we're talking about is just plain common sense. See? And what upsets me now is that Republicans are actually talking about ending Social Security. And they want to decide, when you can collect Social Security, right? What age you can collect Social Security. Now, maybe if you're talking about a college professor or something, yeah, sure. Hell, maybe let them, collect at 50. But what about the average working guy? Some Americans have to work up until the age of 75, 70. Because the cost of living has gotten much higher. See, so people need to be aware of that. That's what Trump and his buddies in the Republican Party. That's what they want to do, right? Now, I made a crack earlier, but I'll tell you something. It really pisses me off. And what I'm referring to is this guy, not only is he trying to bring religion into this, it's not really a political contest. And I'll explain why in a moment. But for on the surface, that's what it's supposed to be, right? America has supposedly grown out of that. The last time that was a person's, that was a problem with a candidate, when was that, 1928, Al Smith, governor of New York, when he ran for president. But we are supposed to have proven that we don't dance to that tune anymore in 1960 when we elected the first Roman Catholic. And now, this guy Trump, he's really turning us into a cult. Because now, I'm Jesus. Actually, what he's done, he's put himself on the same level as Jesus. Now, I tell anybody, I'm not a religious person. I have my own spiritual issues, desires, what have you. I do feel that, Christ is the basis of what we see as Christianity, okay? However, like Jefferson said, I'm not concerned if my neighbor worships 10 gods or if he worships one or if he doesn't worship any. That's not what this is about. This country was founded by some of the people who they wanted to escape religious persecution. They wanted to do their own thing. So for Trump trying to entice people by selling $60 Bibles, what does that have to do with his fitness for office? Because he's proven that he's not. You see the situation where you have, and I don't know how much of this is being made up or cooked up, but we have to understand, you have foreign interest, both economic and political that are involved in many aspects of American life, um, especially when you're talking about intelligence, um, what we're doing, our capabilities, so on and so forth. You know, Trump was his first, you know, his first foray in the politics. You find nothing but um, Russian involvement. Now, this is real, okay? I spent half my time in the Navy as an intelligence technician. I have a top secret SBI clearance. The SBI, that's for special background investigation. Uh, I'm not saying this because I want to raise a flag and say, "Ooh, look at me, look at me. I worked in the White House." No, I ain't got. No, that's not what it's about. But you have people in this country that see Trump for what he is. They know what he is. He is a Russian plant. Okay? And we have the facts to back that up. I don't want to get into a whole, well, this is what I learned when I was at DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, because that would defeat the whole purpose of our intelligence work. But this is the part where I start kind of slowing down because I don't want to say anything that would harm our country's intelligence capabilities. But enough of this crap. I mean, Trump has done a very good job on his own of proving that he is a person that cannot be trusted with our most valuable secrets. For you people in the Trump clique, right? It's unfortunate, but it's true. The man is dangerous. And, it's time that people start waking up to the facts, okay? And start trusting their own two eyes. If you've ever seen Trump at one of these summit meetings and Putin is there, see who is the alpha male at those meetings. It's not Donald Trump. It is Putin. I don't know what Putin has on Trump. Well, I'll put it this way. I believe that Trump has been compromised, and I'll let it sit at that. But Trump, by his own behavior and by words out of his own mouth, has shown again and again that he cannot be trusted. This whole thing with the secret documents. I know how sometimes documents get misplaced. But I have never seen we have never seen a president that will publicly fight to hold on to top secret documents that he has no right to hold on to. This is not a one-man dictatorship. Just because you were president, that doesn't mean that you have the right to take our secrets and take them home and then show them off around your friends. He's been caught doing that quite a few times. And God knows what he tells them when they're in private conversation. See, one of the problems with this whole presidential thing, when they wrote the rules and regs for this, which is found in our Constitution, they were not anticipating that you would have someone who would be so untrustworthy and so anti-American that you would have to, we have to constantly keep watching our back with this guy. And then you have people like Bannon, who I'm ashamed to say is a former naval officer, just like that idiot that's the governor of Florida. And I'm like, damn, where did they get? How did these guys make it in the Navy? Because, see, one of the things about being a naval officer, you have to be able to relate to people, all types of people.